Take a breath. The work is already done. There is nothing to chase, nothing to force, and absolutely nothing standing between you and the life you desire, except effort. Not the kind of effort you think you need, but the kind that creates resistance. Most people are unknowingly holding their blessings hostage. By trying too hard, they think that desire alone is enough, that pushing, repeating, and constantly watching for signs will make it come faster. But Neville Goddard knew a deeper truth, one that most never hear. The secret wasn't in striving, it was in relaxing. In this video, you'll learn what Neville truly meant when he said, "Be still and know." You'll understand why your most powerful manifestations don't come from effort, but from stillness, from surrender, from stepping into a state of rest where you allow the unseen to unfold. We're going to explore how the act of relaxing, mentally and emotionally, becomes the bridge between your desire and its fulfillment, and why those who learn to let go, to trust their inner world, always seem to receive what they want, without having to chase it. By the end of this video, you'll see why relaxation isn't weakness, it's mastery. You'll uncover how imagination works best when the mind is quiet. You'll discover a lesser-known story about Neville himself that reveals how he manifested with ease, and you'll be guided into a new understanding of how to align with your desires through deep internal calm. You'll also learn practical ways to enter this relaxed state each day and how to use it to reprogram your inner reality without force or struggle. Neville never taught people to beg. He taught them to rest in the knowing that the assumption of the wish fulfilled is enough. In fact, he often said that the moment you feel it real, the creation is complete. But here's the part most people overlook. That feeling must be calm, not frantic, not desperate, not anxious, and certainly not obsessed with watching the clock. The world will tell you that success and desire come from hustle, from non-stop effort, from doing more. But Neville's message was always different. He invited us to close the outer eyes and open the inner vision, to feel the end and rest in it, to know that once the seed is planted in imagination, it grows best in silence. Think about it. When you plant a seed in the soil, do you dig it up every hour to see if it's growing? Of course not. You water it. You give it space. You trust the process. This is exactly how manifestation works. And Neville revealed that it is in the stillness, not the noise, that miracles unfold, not by your effort, but by your assumption, not through tension, but through trust. So if you've ever felt frustrated that your manifestations aren't showing up fast enough, if you've ever felt like you're doing all the techniques, saying all the right affirmations, visualizing day and night, but nothing seems to shift, this video will show you why. The reason isn't what you're doing, it's how you're being. And most importantly, how you're feeling. When your inner world is calm, clear, and confident, the outer world follows. There's a powerful line Neville once shared. Man moves in a world that is nothing more than his consciousness objectified. If that's true, and it is, then what is the world reflecting back when you are in a state of mental strain, impatience, or desperation? It's reflecting that very state. That is why this teaching is so transformative. It asks you to do something that feels counterintuitive at first. It asks you to stop forcing, to stop needing, to stop chasing, and instead to dwell in the feeling of calm certainty. Throughout this video, we'll guide you through the core techniques Neville taught that bring you into that state, including State Akin to sleep, assumption, and letting go. We'll also explore how deep relaxation and detachment work hand in hand with the law of assumption. You'll come away with a deeper understanding of how manifestation actually works, and why calmness isn't just a bonus, it's the secret key. So stay with us until the end. Let the words and the pauses in between sink into you. Allow your body to slow down and your mind to quiet. This video isn't just information, it's transformation. It's your invitation to stop doing and start knowing, to shift from the noisy outer world into the powerful stillness of your inner world. Because the truth is, when you relax, everything you desire begins to move toward you. Welcome to Ignis Mindset. If you're ready to discover how to align with your desires from a state of peace, confidence, and inner authority, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and join us every day for powerful insights and transformative teachings based on Neville Goddard's timeless wisdom. Relax, breathe. The work is already done. Before we talk about techniques and steps to manifest your desires, we must first address one of the most misunderstood aspects of Neville Goddard's teaching: the difference between true power and effort. Relaxation is not laziness. In fact, it is the foundation of creative control. Neville never associated stillness with passivity or weakness. Instead, he saw calmness as the natural state of the one who knows they are the operant power. When you fully believe in your ability to assume and receive, you no longer chase, you allow. You don't hustle for what is already yours. And this is where most people get it wrong. They confuse movement with progress. They think that tension, repetition, and constant watching are proof of faith, when in reality, those are signs of fear. Neville taught that real manifestation happens in silence, in those inner moments when you feel the end so vividly that you need no confirmation from the outside world. This is the relaxed assumption. This is faith. You assume it is done, and you rest in that knowing. Contrast this with forced effort, repeating affirmations 100 times with doubt in your heart, visualizing only to look around for results, or anxiously asking if it's working. That isn't power. That's insecurity. And the outer world reflects it back, just as it is. There is a dramatic difference between claiming your desire in calm confidence and begging for it through mental noise. Neville's approach always leaned toward the former. He often reminded us, "Be still and know," a phrase that carries far more weight than most realize. Stillness isn't about doing nothing. It's about aligning. It's the deliberate act of entering the inner sanctuary where the assumption lives untouched by the world. Stillness is the fertile soil of manifestation. It is where all imagined scenes grow into reality. In your stillness, you claim what is already yours. You dwell in the feeling of it being done. And from that place, the outer begins to move. Inner stillness doesn't stop the world. It commands it. The more you quiet your thoughts, the more you feel the truth of your desire already being fulfilled, the more the world reshapes itself around your new identity. Neville explained that what you feel within will be echoed without. So if you feel rushed, the world will delay. If you feel doubt, the world will show uncertainty. But if you feel calm, satisfied, and full of knowing, the world will conform with astonishing speed. The secret lies in letting go, not of the desire itself, but of the tension that binds it. Letting go in Neville's teachings was never about giving up. It was about stepping into trust, trusting the unseen process, trusting that your assumption is already alive in the invisible realm, and trusting that the external world is simply catching up. When you let go of mental noise, emotional clinging, and the obsession with time, you're not abandoning your dream. You're entering the state where it becomes inevitable. Neville was clear: holding tightly onto a desire can suffocate it. The real power comes when you can let it go mentally while still knowing it's done. This isn't attachment in the way people think. It's not apathy or indifference. It's spiritual confidence. It's the calm recognition that nothing needs to happen out there until something has shifted in here. You've moved. You've entered the state. And now you wait, not with fear, but with assurance. He once said, "You rise to a higher level of being, and then your world responds." That rising is an internal shift, and it happens most easily when the mind is quiet. When you're not trying to make anything happen, when you stop checking, stop questioning, and simply rest in your identity as one who already has. That's the secret Neville gave over and over: not to strive for the thing, but to become the version of yourself who already has it, and then relax. Stillness doesn't delay the manifestation. It delivers it. Because in that stillness, there is no doubt, no contradiction, no opposing state that blocks the unfolding. When the body is relaxed and the mind is clear, the assumption becomes natural. And once it's natural, it becomes physical. The body follows the mind. The outer follows the inner. That is law. Even Neville's own experiences show this. He would often enter a deep meditative state, what he called the state akin to sleep, to impress his desires on the subconscious. He didn't rush, he didn't repeat it over and over in panic. He visualized with calm conviction. He felt the scene fully and then let it go. He didn't speak of waking up and obsessively looking for results. He taught the power of peace, of assuming the end and then living in that state, regardless of appearances. And it's here that most people lose their way. They believe that they must do something extra, that faith alone is not enough. They start adding rules, rituals, and techniques, not because they believe in them, but because they're afraid. They panic in the silence, but Neville's work always returned to simplicity. Assume, feel, rest, let go, and receive. That is the cycle, and it begins not with force, but with stillness. The world reflects your dominant inner state, not your loudest words. You can affirm with your mouth all day, but if your body is tense and your mind is restless, the affirmation won't take root. But say it once, truly feel it once, in complete peace, and it can move mountains. That is why relaxing isn't optional. It's the key. You were never asked to fight your way into your blessing. You were invited to relax into it, to rest in the truth that what you imagine is already yours, not someday, not if you work hard enough, but now because you dared to feel it real. So release the pressure, release the strain, enter the stillness with intention. Know that your inner world holds the power to shape all that you see. Relax and watch the impossible become inevitable. Living in the end is not a task to be completed or a goal to be chased. It is a state of being, a quiet inner knowing that what you desire has already been fulfilled. For Neville Goddard, this principle wasn't about forcing the mind into a fantasy, but allowing yourself to gently rest in the reality of the wish fulfilled. This is not about pretending or lying to yourself. It is about feeling as if your desire is already true here and now, without effort, without strain. Visualization, in its purest form, should be natural. It should flow from the heart with ease, like a memory from a life you've already lived. Many make the mistake of turning visualization into a chore, trying to force mental images or emotions. But Neville never taught strain. He taught surrender. He invited you to close your eyes and gently enter the scene that implies your desire is already a fact. Not to control every detail, but to relax into the feeling of it. The key word here is ease. When the mind is at ease, the subconscious receives the message. When the body is relaxed and the breath is steady, the assumption becomes believable. You are not required to create anything. You are only asked to accept that it already exists. The truth is, your imagination does not respond well to tension. The moment you begin trying to visualize with tight shoulders, racing thoughts, or an anxious heartbeat, you're no longer living in the end. You're grasping for it. The feeling of not yet overpowers the feeling of already done. Neville encouraged us to approach this process as if slipping into a dream. You don't force a dream, you fall into it. You don't demand the dream to behave a certain way. You experience it. That same softness, that same surrender is exactly how you enter the state of the wish fulfilled. The state akin to sleep, or SATS, is the gateway to this experience. It is Neville's most powerful tool, not because of complexity, but because of simplicity. When your body begins to relax and your mind drifts between waking and sleeping, the conscious resistance fades away. In this twilight state, you are impressionable. You are open. You are the fertile soil, ready to accept the seed of a new reality. Neville often practiced SATS just before sleep, a moment where the conscious mind loses grip and the subconscious takes over. To enter SATS, You don't need rituals or long preparation. You only need stillness. Lie down in a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Let your breathing slow down naturally. Release tension from your muscles, from your jaw, from your brow, and then gently begin to imagine a short, vivid scene that would take place after your desire is fulfilled. Make it simple. A hug, a phone call, a smile of satisfaction, a moment of success. Let it loop naturally without pressure. The goal is not to control every detail, but to feel it as real. Neville's guidance was clear. The scene must imply the fulfillment of your desire. It must feel final, not ongoing. A congratulatory handshake means it's done. A conversation that reflects your new identity confirms it. And the most important part, you must feel the scene, not just see it. Let the emotion rise naturally. Don't push. Don't force. Let your imagination carry you into the experience. Just like a dream, in that state, the subconscious accepts it as truth. That's where creation begins. Not in the doing, but in the being. If you drift off to sleep while feeling it real, even better. Neville often said that falling asleep in the assumption is one of the most effective ways to impress the subconscious. Sleep seals the impression. It turns imagination into experience, into fact. But even if you don't fall asleep, simply entering such for a few minutes can shift everything. The key is consistency and sincerity, not effort. One habit seen, felt deeply, is more powerful than hours of tense affirmations or mental forcing. There is no need to analyze how or when your desire will manifest. In fact, that very question pulls you out of the state. Neville never instructed us to figure it out. He told us to feel it done and to live from that state as naturally as we breathe. Living in the end is not about denying what your senses tell you. It's about knowing that your imagination is the greater reality. You don't have to see it to know it's true. You feel it. You accept it. And then you walk through life as the one who already has it. The beauty of this teaching is that it frees you. You no longer need to chase results. You no longer need to fight doubt. You simply return again and again to the inner state where your desire is fulfilled. And you rest there. Every time your mind wanders back to what is, you gently bring it back to what has already been done. This is discipline, not in effort, but in focus. You choose your inner reality and stay loyal to it, no matter what the outer world says. Neville understood that we are always imagining. The question is not if you are living in the end. It is which end you are living in. Are you imagining failure or fulfillment? Are you identifying with lack or abundance? Are you feeling worry or peace? Your dominant state of consciousness will shape your world. So choose it wisely. Choose to relax. Choose to know. Choose to live in the end with ease. The more you practice this relaxed assumption, the more natural it becomes. It will stop feeling like a technique and start feeling like the truth. You won't have to remind yourself. You'll simply know. That's the power of imagination. It creates not just events, but identity. It gives you permission to step into the version of yourself who already has it, who already is it. And that version is not stressed. That version is not doubtful. That version is calm, certain, fulfilled. Let every visualization be a moment of rest, not work. Let every imagined scene be a moment of arrival, not striving. You are not building your dream. You are remembering it. You are not chasing your goal. You are embodying it. And when you do that with ease, when you enter sats with peace and intention, reality has no choice but to conform, because you are not waiting anymore. You are living in the end. Feeling is the secret, but it was never meant to be forced. Neville Goddard emphasized again and again that emotion must be genuine, not manufactured under pressure. The inner state you inhabit, the feeling you rest in, creates your reality. But this isn't about hype or emotional fireworks. It's about quiet, steady conviction. A peaceful embodiment of your desire carries more weight than all the loud declarations in the world. There is a common misconception that you must feel intense joy or overwhelming excitement for a desire to manifest. But the truth is, calm confidence is far more powerful. When Neville spoke of feeling, he wasn't speaking of emotional theatrics. He was pointing to the quiet assumption that something is already true. It is a subtle inner knowing, the kind of feeling that doesn't need to shout because it is already certain. When you gently assume the state of the wish fulfilled, it should feel like slipping into a familiar room, not a performance. It should feel safe, natural, obvious. There's no need to strain or push yourself into emotion. That effort often signals disbelief. True belief is relaxed. It breathes easily. You don't tense up when you know something is yours. You simply move forward from that knowing, undisturbed. Neville often said, "You are already that which you want to be." He didn't mean that you have to convince yourself with emotion. He meant you must inwardly accept it. That acceptance carries a feeling with it, not forced, not exaggerated, but stable and secure. The feeling is like a gentle current guiding your thoughts, your actions, and your reactions. It is not a burst of fireworks. It is the warmth of a settled heart. People often wait for circumstances to change before allowing themselves to feel peace. But Neville flipped this dynamic. He taught that if you feel peace now, regardless of appearances, the world must follow. That's the creative process. You enter the state inwardly and persist in that state until it hardens into fact. And if your state is peaceful, your world reflects peace. If your state is fulfilled, your world reflects fulfillment. This is why the practice of quiet embodiment is so effective. Rather than using loud affirmations or mental effort to convince yourself, you simply choose to rest in the feeling of the end. Not with tension, not with desperation, but with trust. That feeling might come in the form of relief, or satisfaction, or stillness. And that is enough. The subconscious responds to what you accept as real, not what you try to make real. When Neville described living in the end, he didn't say to work yourself into a frenzy of excitement. He said to feel as though your desire were already true. Imagine what life would feel like if you were already the person you want to be. What does your inner world look like? What is your posture, your breath, your thoughts? You will find that the most transformative inner states are calm, not chaotic. So many people attempt to manifest from a place of urgency. They try to force emotion because they think feeling intense joy or excitement will make their desire appear faster. But that very effort often blocks the process. The tension reveals that they are still trying, still hoping, still outside the state. True feeling doesn't require effort. It arises when you let go, when you allow the scene to become real, not through force, but through surrender. Imagine yourself receiving the thing you desire, not dramatically, just naturally. Imagine being told it is already done. What happens to your body? It relaxes, your shoulders drop, your breath slows. That's the state that manifests, not because it's dramatic, but because it's true. The subconscious doesn't need theatrics. It responds to the quiet, consistent atmosphere you create within. Peace is not passive. It is powerful. In the teachings of Neville, peace is the evidence of belief. It shows that you've moved out of doubt and into certainty. If you truly believed that everything was unfolding perfectly, how would you feel? Probably not frantically excited. Probably not nervous or hyperactive. You would feel still, grounded, centered. That is the secret feeling that aligns you with your desire. Feeling it real doesn't mean you must smile constantly or feel euphoric all day. It simply means returning again and again to the inner conviction that it is already done. That return is quiet. It is gentle. It doesn't demand that the world change. It allows the change to unfold. Your job is not to force emotion, but to rest in identity. You are already what you want to be. That's the essence of the teaching. Neville's own experiences were often marked by this quiet assurance. He would imagine simple scenes, A handshake, a letter, a casual conversation, and allow the feeling of fulfillment to arise naturally. He didn't use overwhelming emotional states. He used clarity. He let his imagination settle into the scene, and then he let go. No tension, no anxiety, just the soft knowing that creation was already complete. When people hear feeling is the secret, they often search for the strongest emotional reaction they can produce. But the secret isn't about the volume of the feeling, it's about the quality. Is it natural? Is it true? Does it align with who you've chosen to be? If so, that's enough. Even a subtle feeling of certainty can shift your entire reality if it is sustained with faith. The next time you practice imagining your desire, don't chase emotion. Instead, become still. Create the scene that implies your desire is fulfilled. Step into it gently. Let your body relax into the new state. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts quiet, and allow the feeling to emerge naturally. It may be a soft joy, a gentle confidence, or simply peace. That's the secret. And that's where manifestation begins. There is no prize for being the most excited. The manifestation does not come to the one who forces the biggest emotional display. It comes to the one who quietly accepts that the desire is already theirs. This is the meaning of be still and know, not be loud and hope. The knowing is calm. It doesn't require external confirmation. It rests. It trusts. Neville Goddard never asked you to fight your way into the wish fulfilled. He asked you to surrender into it. That is the subtle art of manifestation, the gentle shift from wanting to being. The feeling will arise, not by force, but by choice. You choose to assume it, and the more you choose it, the more natural it becomes. Until one day you realize you're no longer trying to feel it real. You are simply living from it. Imagination is most powerful when the mind is quiet and the body is still. Neville Goddard understood that the creative process does not come through strain or mental noise, but through calm, inward attention. He often spoke about withdrawing from the outer world so the inner world could come alive. In his own practice, he made it clear, to imagine effectively, one must enter a state where the senses are subdued and the surface mind is no longer agitated. This quietness is not a void. It is a gateway to creation. Neville's method wasn't loud or dramatic. It was subtle. He would sit or lie down, letting the body grow heavy and the breath steady. This was not ordinary relaxation. It was the intentional shift inward, when the body no longer demands attention. When the five senses grow silent, that is when imagination begins to speak. In that stillness, an image can take hold, a scene can form, a new reality can begin to crystallize, not as wishful thinking, but as a living experience in consciousness. He often called this the state akin to sleep, not because one falls asleep, but because it mirrors that moment just before sleep arrives. In that twilight state, you are most impressionable. You are no longer filtering ideas with logic or skepticism. The critical mind is quiet. The subconscious is open. It is in that space where impressions take root. That is where you plant the seeds of your desires. Neville did not teach that imagination works best when you are emotionally frantic or hyper-focused. In fact, he warned against trying too hard. The harder you try, the more you signal to yourself that it isn't real yet. True imagining is effortless. It flows from stillness, from belief, from ease. The quiet mind is not distracted by the outside world. It is focused inward, and that focus becomes creation. When the mind is calm, you stop resisting, you stop doubting, you stop asking how and when. In that stillness, you accept that what you imagine is already yours. You step into the feeling without struggle. This is the essence of Neville's work, not a technique of force, but a surrender into truth. The truth of your inner world, the truth that consciousness is the only reality, and that what you assume in imagination must express itself in the world. Stillness is not passive, it is creative. When the mind is quiet, your awareness becomes sharp. You begin to see clearly the images that matter, the ones that carry weight, the ones that feel real. In noise, imagination scatters. In stillness, it focuses. Neville understood that the inner world is shaped not by chaos, but by deliberate vision. And deliberate vision can only come when the waters of the mind are calm. He would describe imagination as a controlled dream. In the waking world, we are often pulled in many directions, thinking, reacting, planning. But in this controlled inner dream, we are the author. We decide the script. And to write a new script, we must first silence the noise of the old one. We must withdraw attention from the world that is, and fix it upon the world as we want it to be. Neville often said imagination is God. This was not a claim to divinity outside of oneself, but a recognition that your imagination, your inner creative power, is what gives life to your experience. And like a painter who needs stillness to create a masterpiece, the imagination needs silence to shape reality. You do not argue your way into a new life. You imagine your way into it. You do not force the scene. You enter it gently, with conviction, and rest there until it becomes real. This is why Neville recommended practicing your imaginal acts when the body is most at ease, right before sleep or early in the morning. These are the windows where the conscious mind is naturally quiet and the subconscious is most receptive. In those moments, you can visualize your desired scene with greater clarity, with greater absorption. There is no distraction, no contradiction, just pure creation. The quiet mind is not empty. It is full of directed awareness. You are not doing nothing. You are doing the most powerful thing you can. You are assuming the end. You are claiming your desire by living it inwardly. That inner living is not mental noise. It is presence. It is embodiment. It is the act of choosing a new state of being and letting it settle deep within you until it becomes normal. Neville's personal accounts are full of quiet moments that changed everything. He didn't shout affirmations. He didn't beg for change. He lay still. He imagined. He felt it real, and then he let it go, trusting that what was done in the quiet had already begun to shape the world around him. It wasn't magic. It was the law of consciousness, the law that what you accept inwardly must show itself outwardly. This is the true power of a quiet mind. It is not concerned with appearances. It is not anxious or restless. It knows. It rests in the unseen with full confidence that what it sees inwardly will become what it sees outwardly. That's why Neville said, your imagination, when disciplined and calm, is more real than anything outside. What you create in stillness is more powerful than what you chase in the noise. Stillness allows you to hear the inner voice, the voice that says, it is already done. In the clamor of the outer world, that voice is drowned out by worry, doubt, and fear. But in stillness, it returns. You remember who you are. You remember what you desire. And you remember that you don't need to force or control the outcome. You simply need to enter the state where it is already true and remain there in peace. When you quiet the mind, you begin to move from reaction to creation. You stop reacting to what is and start choosing what will be. You become the cause, not the effect. You stop asking for permission from the world and start giving direction from within. The world is not deciding your fate. Your imagination is. And that imagination works best when you are still. So lie down. Sit quietly. Breathe deeply. Withdraw from the senses, from the opinions, from the fears. Enter the sacred space within. And in that space, imagine, gently, clearly, peacefully, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Let the scene unfold, not with strain, but with faith. Feel the reality of your desire and rest in it as though it were already so, because in the quiet, it already is. There is a subtle law at work, one that moves beneath the surface of everyday life, an unseen hand arranging what must come when the end is already assumed. Neville Goddard called this the bridge of incidence. Once you imagine your desire and fully enter the state of the wish fulfilled, the world begins to reorganize itself to reflect it. But this bridge is invisible to the logical mind. It is not predictable, nor is it always comfortable. And that is why trust becomes your greatest strength. To trust the bridge means to release the need to control every detail. It means you no longer chase results or force outcomes. You rest in the knowing that once the inner state is changed, the outer must comply. The bridge of incidence is not your responsibility to construct. It is already laid. Your only task is to stay loyal to the end you've imagined and allow life to unfold. Neville explained this beautifully through his own experiences. In many of his lectures, he described how things would happen: conversations, delays, unexpected meetings that seemed unrelated to his desire. But each event was a necessary link, leading him from where he was to where he had already arrived in imagination. If he had tried to interfere or manipulate those steps, he would have disrupted the very process meant to fulfill his assumption. Relaxation is not idleness. It is the posture of faith. It means you no longer react to appearances, but remain anchored in your inner vision. When you chase results, you affirm their absence. When you try to make things happen, you imply they are not already happening. Neville urged his students to be still, not passive, but confident, to act only when moved by inner conviction, not fear or urgency. He often quoted the words, "Be still and know." Stillness in this sense is not just physical. It is a mental quietness, a surrendering of doubt and resistance. It is trusting that everything necessary is already in motion. When you have assumed the end, you have set a cause into action. That cause must produce its effect, but the effect comes not through effort, but through alignment. Many struggle with this part of the process. They imagine their desire, they feel it real, but then they return to old habits, worrying, watching the clock, checking for signs. In doing so, they break the state. They step out of the end and back into the middle. Neville warned against this. He said to remain faithful to the end, no matter what the world shows. You may be fired from your job on the way to becoming wealthy. You may lose a relationship on the way to love. These are not failures. They are the bridge. They are the rearrangements required to align the world with your new inner reality. And if you judge them too quickly, you may abandon the very process that is working in your favor. Trusting the invisible bridge means living from your desire, not for it. You walk through life as if what you imagined is already so. You speak from the new identity. You think from the fulfilled state. You no longer ask if it will happen. You know it is happening now, even if the evidence has yet to appear. This trust turns you into a magnet. You do not chase things come to you. Neville gave an example of wanting to travel without the means to pay for it. He assumed the feeling of already being there. He walked the streets of his city as if he had just returned from his trip. And in perfect timing, an incident occurred, a conversation, an invitation that made it possible. He didn't plan it. He didn't force it. He simply accepted that it was already done and allowed the bridge to appear. Life responds not to effort, but to assumption. You do not need to figure out the how. The moment you do, you step out of the role of creator and into the role of warrior. The bridge may come through someone you've never met. It may arise from a problem that suddenly resolves. It may even look like a setback, but seen from the end, it's just another piece falling into place. This is the art of living in faith without tension. You imagine what you want. You feel it as done. Then you release it. Not because you don't care, but because you do care. You care enough to trust that what you imagine is now making its way to you. Your job is to remain in the inner conviction, to take inspired action when prompted, but never from desperation. Neville taught that imagination is the true cause of reality. And once a cause is set in motion, the result must follow. But the line between cause and effect is rarely straight. It curves through experiences, encounters, delays, and synchronicities that are all necessary, even if not immediately understood. The quiet trust in this process is what separates those who manifest effortlessly from those who struggle. He would often say, "Dare to assume it, then go about your day in peace." That peace is your power. It signals that you believe, that you no longer search for confirmation, because your confirmation is already within. You saw it in imagination, you felt it real, and now you simply let the world catch up. To trust the invisible bridge is to live with relaxed expectancy, not apathy, not detachment from your desire, but a deep confidence that it is unfolding. Even when you cannot see how, you don't rush the flower to bloom once you planted the seed. You water it, you let the sun reach it, and you know it will grow in its season. So it is with your desires. Once imagined clearly, once felt as true, they begin to grow beneath the surface. The bridge forms, the people are moved, the situations shift, the doors open. You don't see all the steps, but each one is divinely timed. And as long as you do not disturb the process with doubt or impatience, you will be led to exactly where you need to be. Relaxation is the signal that you've claimed your desire. It is the posture of someone who knows they are the operant power, who no longer begs or wishes, but declares and rests. The bridge will do its part. Your part is to remain faithful, quiet in mind, firm in assumption, and open to receive. In the stillness of your belief, the path is made clear, not always in advance, but always when needed. This is the mystery and the beauty of the invisible bridge of incidents. Trust it, walk it, and you will arrive exactly where you imagined yourself to be. Every time you check for a sign, a message, a number, a shift, you're saying silently, "It hasn't happened yet." The outer action may seem innocent, but its root is doubt. Neville Goddard was clear. True belief leaves no room for anxious observation. When you have imagined the end and felt it real, your role becomes stillness, not search. Faith is not frantic. It walks calmly, confidently, and quietly toward the unseen. Neville taught that imagining creates reality, not just any imagining, but an inner experience so real and so satisfying that it ends desire. You no longer want it because you've already lived it. From that moment on, checking becomes unnecessary. The one who is wealthy does not check their bank balance to believe they are wealthy. The one who is loved does not look for signs of affection to know they are loved. They simply live in that state. So why do we check? Because we have not yet claimed it. We are still standing at the edge of belief, hoping something will happen to convince us. But imagination works in reverse. It is conviction first, then confirmation. If you seek proof to believe, you've already missed the creative moment. That's why Neville insisted you must go within and shut the door. Shut the door to appearances. Shut the door to distractions. Shut the door to everything that tempts you to disbelieve. This is not about ignoring the world. It's about reordering it. The world is the echo, not the cause. And if you are always listening to the echo, you'll never speak the original word. Speak it in imagination. Declare it with feeling. Then walk on. Walk as if it is already done, because in your consciousness it is. That's where the practice of daily relaxation becomes powerful, not as a technique to make something happen, but as a way to enter the state where things happen effortlessly. A relaxed mind is not passive. It is receptive. It is the fertile soil where belief takes root. Neville often spoke of entering the state Akin to sleep. That's because it was the moment when the critical mind let go and the subconscious became impressible. A simple breathwork practice in the morning can set the tone. Sit quietly, breathe slowly, let your thoughts settle. Then from that stillness, allow the feeling of your wish fulfilled to rise naturally. Don't force it, don't script it. Just feel the peace of knowing it's already so. That peace is the signal. That calm is the doorway. When you feel that, you've reached the state where imagination plants seeds into the deepest layers of consciousness. At night, before drifting into sleep, Revisit your desire not with longing but with relief. Let your imagination replay the scene as if it already happened. Let your body relax into it. Let your breathing slow. The quieter your mind, the more potent the impression. This is how you train yourself to trust the unseen, not by effort, but by ease, not by checking, but by embodying. Neville would say, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not force the feeling or search for the feeling, but gently, naturally, assume it, like putting on a new coat. No one looks in the mirror every 5 minutes to see if the coat is still there. You put it on and go about your day. That's belief. That's power. When you catch yourself checking, pause. Ask yourself, what am I really believing right now? Is it done? Or am I waiting for the world to convince me? If the latter, return to stillness. Reclaim your inner world, because that's the only place where change truly happens. The more you practice daily relaxation, the less urgency you will feel. Urgency is always a sign of mental separation from the thing you want. But when you live from the end, urgency dissolves. You stop needing proof because you are walking proof. You radiate the very thing you've imagined, and this radiance draws experiences to you not because you chase, but because you align. Neville often repeated that consciousness is the only reality. That means nothing outside you needs to shift first. It's not your job to manipulate circumstances. It's your job to change your concept of self. Once that happens, the world will mirror it back in time. The time between assumption and manifestation is not a gap to fear. It is a bridge to walk, and you walk it best in silence. Let go of the habit of scanning your life for evidence. That habit is rooted in disbelief. Replace it with moments of inner knowing. Create quiet rituals that return you to the feeling of already having. The morning breath, the evening vision, the midday pause. Use them not to beg, but to remember. Because the mind that is still imagines best. When your mind is quiet, your emotions are undisturbed. And in that state, your imagination moves with clarity and precision. Neville taught that creation is finished. Everything you could ever want already exists in imagination. You do not make it happen. You select it. You do not chase it. You become it. So today, choose to stop checking and start believing. Replace searching with stillness. Replace doubt with calm repetition. And above all, walk in faith. Faith doesn't mean hoping it might come. It means knowing it already has. The person you want to be is already imagined. The life you desire has already been assumed. Now it's time to let it unfold. Gently, silently, powerfully. And as you rest in this deep inner assurance, you'll begin to notice something remarkable. Everything starts working in your favor, without strain, without stress, and without you needing to force a single thing. This is the essence of Neville's message. Not striving, not struggling, but relaxing into belief. And from that belief, a life more aligned than you ever thought possible begins to emerge. Neville Goddard's own life was the living proof of everything he taught. His words weren't philosophical guesses or distant theories. They were lived experiences. One of the lesser-known yet deeply revealing stories from his life occurred during a time when he longed to return home to Barbados, but lacked the means to make the journey. Instead of fretting over the details or trying to figure out how it would happen, Neville chose rest, not rest in action, but the deep inner stillness of knowing. He imagined himself already in Barbados, not flying there, not packing his bags, not even waiting at the dock. He simply imagined being there, feeling the humidity, seeing the island, walking with his family. He fully absorbed the feeling of I am home. That inner scene became more real to him than the lack of funds, the distance, or any other barrier. And then, the bridge of incidents unfolded. A series of seemingly ordinary events lined up with uncanny perfection. A letter arrived, then a connection was made, and soon after, a passage home was gifted to him. Unexpected, unforced, and without a trace of struggle. This was Neville's way. Not hustle, but harmony. He didn't push life. He entered the state of the wish fulfilled and let life push him. This story stands in stark contrast to how most people approach manifestation. They try, they affirm repeatedly, hoping repetition will force results. They visualize while obsessively checking reality, constantly asking, is it working yet? But Neville reminded his students, effort is doubt in disguise. The moment you try hard to get something, you've declared that you do not have it. The more you chase, the more it runs. This is the silent mistake so many make over trying. They attempt to manifest from a place of lack rather than from the fullness of imagination. But manifestation doesn't bloom from pressure. It flourishes in peace. True creative power is not an act of desperation. It is a silent knowing, a calm conviction, a relaxed certainty that the unseen is more real than the seen. Neville never said, convince the world. He said, convince yourself. Once the inner man is moved, the outer world must echo it. He didn't get on a phone and try to arrange a trip to Barbados. He didn't campaign for help. He didn't force any doors open. He simply went inward, created the scene, lived in it, and then waited in rest. This inner stillness was not laziness. It was alignment. It was the faith that what he imagined was already his. And in that alignment, the world reshaped itself. This is the reframe we must embrace. Rest is not giving up, it's trusting. When you truly believe something is yours, your entire demeanor shifts. You don't anxiously scroll through signs. You don't wake up each morning to see if anything has changed. You wake up and walk as if it's done. You carry the identity of the person who already has. You act naturally, in line with your new state. And this naturalness is what invites the miraculous. When Neville wanted something, he didn't bombard his mind with noise. He slipped into the end scene and let it play in silence. He entered the state akin to sleep and allowed his imagination to crystallize his desire. No tension, no strain, just stillness. And that stillness was the secret. So many people misunderstand this principle. They believe that the louder their affirmations, the faster the result, that the more time they spend visualizing, the stronger their manifestation. But Neville taught that the quality of your inner experience is what matters, not the quantity of your outer actions. One rich moment of belief is more powerful than 1,000 hollow repetitions. He would say, you are already that which you seek, and the only thing separating you from it is your refusal to claim it. That refusal often hides beneath frantic efforts. Trying too hard is not commitment, it's resistance. It's like shaking a seed to make it grow faster. Growth requires stillness. Manifestation requires rest. Neville lived his teachings. Whether it was manifesting a home, a passage across the sea, or even shifting a person's behavior, he did it all through the relaxed assumption of already being. He let imagination lead and let the world catch up. So many are exhausted not because life is hard, but because they're trying to do in the outer what can only be done in the inner. They want results without assuming the identity. But Neville knew, once you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the rest is movement behind the scenes. Invisible hands rearranging details. Circumstances reshuffling themselves to align with your state. And this is the power of resting in the end. You don't need to make it happen. You only need to accept that it already has. This isn't passive. It's the most potent form of action, the invisible kind, the kind the world doesn't see, but always feels. When you stop trying, you finally allow. When you release force, you invite flow. And when you rest in the end, you've done the only thing that truly matters. Neville's story reminds us that ease is not weakness, it is mastery. The highest form of manifestation is not in doing more, but in feeling deeper, deeper belief, deeper stillness, deeper acceptance that I am is the gateway to everything you seek. Rest as if it's already secured. Walk with the calm of someone who knows, and in that knowing, watch as life bends to the shape of your inner world, quietly, faithfully. Your identity is the root from which all your experiences grow. It is not something you force or fabricate through endless effort, but something that forms naturally when you make the calm assumption of a new self-image. When you settle into the feeling of who you want to be, your identity begins to reshape itself quietly and automatically. There is no need to struggle or strain to become that person. Your inner world knows how to adjust when you give it the proper direction. Relaxation is key here. It is the soil in which the new self-image can take root and flourish. Neville taught that the mind cannot hold two contradictory beliefs at the same time. When you assume the feeling of your new identity calmly, you silently dismiss the old. This process happens beneath the surface of your conscious thoughts, away from the noise of external circumstances and mental chatter. The more relaxed you are in this assumption, the less resistance you offer, allowing your inner self to align naturally with this new reality. Trying too hard disrupts this flow. Instead, rest in your chosen state, confident that your identity is already shifting within. It's important to understand that change does not always announce itself loudly in the physical world. Much of the transformation Neville spoke of happens invisibly. The results you seek start as subtle shifts in your beliefs, emotions, and perceptions. These internal changes quietly rearrange the foundation of your reality. You might feel as if nothing is happening on the surface, but beneath that calm exterior, your inner world is reprogramming itself. This unseen work is real and vital. Neville emphasized that the outer world is a mirror reflecting your inner state. If your identity is shifted, even if the evidence has yet to appear, it will inevitably express itself in time. The key is patience. Patience mixed with unwavering faith. Relax into your new self without the impatience that demands immediate proof. Your calm trust becomes the fertile ground from which visible change will sprout. When you resist the urge to check for signs or rush the process, you preserve the delicate energy of your transformation. Doubt and impatience create cracks in your foundation, allowing old patterns to creep back in. But when you stay relaxed and consistent in your inner assumption, your identity settles deeper and grows stronger. The mind learns this new reality as its true state and begins to act accordingly, naturally attracting circumstances and people that align with it. Your identity is not something you must constantly manufacture or defend. It is the quiet and steady result of a settled mind and a calm heart. When you live as if the change has already taken place, you embody the new self effortlessly. This effortless embodiment is the highest form of manifestation because it requires no external validation or frantic effort. It is a peaceful knowing. Neville's teachings remind us that manifestation is not about forcing reality to bend to our will. It is about allowing the inner self to be reshaped by a calm, deliberate assumption. This assumption does not need loud declarations or intense visualization sessions. It needs calmness. It needs the deep, gentle conviction that your new identity is real and already at work within you. The unseen changes that occur during this process are the most powerful of all. These shifts in consciousness, feelings, and identity are the true substance of creation. They are invisible, yes, but they are the origin of every visible change. By staying relaxed and committed to your new self-image, you become the silent architect of your reality, quietly designing a life that reflects your deepest desires. You might wonder why you cannot see immediate results. This is natural. The mind conditioned by a world of instant gratification may grow restless, but Neville taught that the natural unfolding of your desires requires trust in the unseen. The bridge of incidents, those subtle, perfectly timed events that bring your manifestations, works behind the scenes. Your calmness allows this bridge to carry you gently toward your goal without resistance or force. Relaxation in this process is not a sign of passivity or surrender to fate. It is an active, deliberate state of inner authority. You are not giving up control. You are wisely choosing where to place your focus on the feeling of the fulfilled desire and the new identity. rather than on external circumstances that may still look unchanged. This inner focus is what reshapes your experience and draws your world into alignment. Neville often reminded his students that assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and observe the route that your assumption has opened. This route is often invisible at first, but it is always there. Your relaxed assumption clears the path, and your new identity begins to function naturally in ways you cannot yet see. It is like planting a seed beneath the earth. You do not see the roots growing, but you know they are forming the foundation for the shoot that will break the surface. In this way, your identity works for you automatically. It does not require constant checking, doubting, or trying to push events forward. It simply grows stronger as you relax into it, becoming your dominant state of being. This quiet, calm transformation is the essence of Neville's teachings on manifestation. It reminds us that true power is not in frantic effort, but in peaceful, confident being. Your role is to maintain this calm, this faith, and this assumption, even when the outer world has yet to confirm your change. The external evidence is always a step behind your inner transformation, waiting patiently to catch up. The real work is inside you, in your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions. When these align and are held with ease, the unseen becomes seen. Let your new self-image be your guide. Trust it. Allow it to shape your perceptions and actions without resistance. As you do, your identity will automatically create the reality you have assumed. This automatic creation is the hallmark of living in the end, not struggling for the outcome, but being the outcome already. The process may feel subtle, but its effects are profound. Your relaxed assumption leads to consistent thoughts and feelings which influence your actions and decisions, drawing opportunities, people, and circumstances that align with your new identity. This flow of manifestation moves quietly but powerfully beneath the surface, unfolding naturally when you remain calm and centered. Neville's wisdom encourages you to embrace this inner calmness as the foundation of all manifestation. It is not the external hustle or forcing that shapes your world, but the internal state you maintain. By letting your identity create automatically through calm assumption, you align yourself with the creative power within. This power is always at work, even when you cannot see it, quietly building the life you desire. Stay relaxed, trust the process, and know that your new self-image is already at work in you. The results will follow naturally, just as the branches grow from a well-rooted tree. Your identity creates automatically when you give it the space and calm it needs. This is the subtle yet unstoppable power Neville revealed, a power waiting for you to embrace it fully. As we reach the end of this journey together, it's important to hold firmly to the truth that Neville Goddard taught so powerfully. You are the operant power in your world. The reality you experience, the life you live, is not shaped by external circumstances alone, but by the state of your consciousness, your beliefs, your assumptions, and most importantly, the feeling you carry within. This understanding is both liberating and empowering. It means you do not need to exhaust yourself, pushing against the tide of life. Instead, you are invited to rest, to relax deeply into the certainty that your desire is already fulfilled. Relaxation is not passivity. It is not laziness. It is a powerful state of being where your mind aligns with the truth of what you want to experience. When you are calm and centered, you are in tune with the creative power within you, your imagination. Neville reminds us time and again that imagination is the great creative force. It is by imagining with feeling, by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, that we give life to our dreams. This process is gentle, effortless, and profound. Many people believe manifestation is about intense effort, forcing results or chasing after outcomes. But Neville's life and teachings show a different path, a path of quiet confidence and patient trust. When you imagine your desire with ease and calm assurance, you plant a seed in the fertile soil of your subconscious. From there, the invisible forces at work begin to shape your external world in perfect harmony with your inner reality. This is where trust becomes essential. Trusting the unseen, trusting the process, and trusting yourself. Trust is not blind faith, but a knowing, a deep inner conviction that your reality is already changing, even if the evidence hasn't yet appeared. Remember Neville's wise counsel: be still and know that I am God. This stillness, this peace within, is where manifestation truly begins. It is the silent force that moves mountains and rearranges circumstances to your favor. When doubt creeps in, as it often does, recognize it as nothing more than the mind's old habit of resistance. Doubt is the voice that says, "What if it's not real?" But you have the power to silence that voice simply by returning to the feeling of the fulfilled desire. Neville taught that feeling is the secret. Without tension or force, without hype or frenzy, the calm embodiment of your wish is far more potent. Let your emotions flow gently, peacefully, like a quiet stream nourishing the roots of your dreams. Letting go of the need to constantly check or verify is another crucial step. Constant checking is doubt in disguise. When you repeatedly look for signs or results, you are telling your subconscious that you do not believe it is already done. Instead, walk through your day as if your desire has already manifested. Carry yourself with the dignity and calm assurance of one who has already received what they asked for. This subtle shift in behavior sends a powerful message to your subconscious mind that your wish is real and inevitable. Neville's own life offers beautiful examples of this truth. He manifested his desires not by pushing, striving, or worrying, but by resting in the feeling, by living from the end. One lesser-known story tells of a time when he wanted a particular outcome, but simply relaxed, imagining it as done and allowing life to unfold naturally. The result came with ease and grace, a testament to the power of relaxed assumption. This teaches us a valuable lesson. Trying too hard often blocks what we want. The energy of struggle contradicts the energy of manifestation. Reframe your mindset to rest as if it is already secured, knowing that the creative process is quietly at work within you. Your identity creates automatically when you relax into the new self-image you desire. The calm assumption of your new identity does the heavy lifting for you. You do not need to force change externally. Instead, by embodying the feelings and beliefs of the person you want to become, you set in motion an unstoppable inner transformation. This transformation, though invisible at first, is the true manifestation. It is the unseen bridge to your new reality. Many become discouraged when external evidence seems slow to appear. But remember, invisible results are still results. The change is happening inside you, in your consciousness. Your assumptions and your emotional state are laying the foundation for your external reality. Patience is key here. Stay relaxed and confident, even if nothing seems to be happening yet. Trust that the changes within are manifesting outwardly in perfect timing. Daily practices support this process. Begin your mornings with breath work, affirmations, or calm visualization, planting your desire clearly in your mind's eye. End your days with gratitude and peaceful reflection, reinforcing the feeling that your wish is already fulfilled. These simple rituals help cultivate a fertile, relaxed mind, the perfect environment for manifestation to take root. As you go forward from this moment, carry with you the knowledge that you are powerful beyond measure. The power to create your reality lies not in struggle, but in your ability to relax, assume, and trust. Walk through life as if your desires are already yours. Feel the peace that comes with surrendering the need to control every detail, and allow the natural unfolding of your dreams. This journey of manifestation is not just about getting what you want. It is about becoming who you truly are, a being of calm power, quiet confidence, and limitless creative potential. Every breath you take, every thought you think, every feeling you embrace contributes to this magnificent transformation. If this message has resonated deeply with you, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to our channel, Ignis Mindset. Join us as we continue to explore the timeless teachings of Neville Goddard, and unlock the secrets of conscious creation together. Come back tomorrow for more inspiration, guidance, and practical wisdom that will support you in living your best life. Thank you for being here. Relax into your power, trust the process, and watch as your world unfolds exactly as you have imagined.